Hey, y'all. Welcome. I'm just making sure everything is working on my end. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. All right. I'm not showing that I'm live yet. Okay, I'm live. Okay, y'all. What's up? What's up? Whenever you get here, go ahead and let me know that you're here. Um, I'll wait like 30 seconds, see if anyone's able to pop on. I'm so sorry that I had to reschedule. Um, let's see. All right, cool. All right, y'all. So I already know most of y'all are gonna have to watch this on the replay. So I am just gonna go ahead and jump right in. All right, so what we're talking about today is how to charge premium prices even as a brand new coach. When you pop in, just let me know that you're here. Say hi. Give Ecamm Live permission to show your name so I can put whatever comments or anything you have on the screen. So I am so excited to talk about this because let me just tell you why this is exciting for me. I heard a statistic and it completely just I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And it made me really, really sad and really, really just even more committed to the cause, right? So a couple of statistics. So you've heard about the wealth gap in America, right? Like you've heard about that and our, black families having, 10 times less. Is it 10 times? No. Black families have an average net worth of $17,000, whereas white families have an average net worth of $170,000. So just ridiculous. Okay, so that's number one. But the second statistic that I heard just made me right. The average, so we know that Black women are starting businesses at higher rates than any other demographic group. And that's amazing, right? And so people will say that statistic and it's like, oh yeah, that's really great, right? But did you know that 85% of Black women-owned businesses only make $24,000 a year or less? 85%. So we're out here not only raising families, doing full-time jobs, starting businesses, trying to level up our lives, and we are only making $24,000 or less a year. To me, that is beyond absurd. Absurd meaning I want to change that, right? And it has a lot to do with inequity, whether or not we're even able to get startup capital. There's so much tied into that statistic. But what small part can I play to change that? And honestly, everything I do in my business with helping people overcome, that feeling of feeling stuck and walking in their purpose is for this reason. And if you go back to episode 0 of my podcast, I have been talking about this since day one, that I am out here to serve Black women. I'm out here to serve women of color because the odds are so stacked against us in so many areas. And what small part can I play to be the change that I want to see? So let's get into this. Okay, let's get into this. So One of a member of the community submitted this question. So thank you. You know who you are. Shout out to you. And the question was, how can I charge premium prices when I'm just getting started? So when you're just getting started in your business or you're just getting started in entrepreneurship, how can you charge premium prices? I'm just charge premium. Okay. Okay. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. So whenever you pop in, just let me know that you're here, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I have 5 tips, like 5 strategies that you can employ. If you employ these, you will be able to charge premium prices for your coaching right out the gate as a brand new coach. Okay, this is available to you. This is available to you. People are doing this. This is not like sleazy, and I'm gonna show you how to not make it sleazy, because you may feel a little bit like, I'm not sure, I don't know, like, can I? Yes, you can. You are allowed. And if you follow these steps, you will do this with confidence, and that's what I want for you guys. Okay, so just so you know, when I was getting started, right? When I was getting started, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, I have been charging 4-figure prices since the beginning of my coaching business, right? However, there was a moment where I backslid, y'all. I backslid a little bit. Kind of fell off the grid, right? And I had and some of you guys may know this because you may have seen it or participated in it. I had a challenge, and then I had a launch, and I decided that I was going to reduce my price, because what I thought to myself was, if I lower my prices, right, like make it like really, really low, I'm gonna get people, like more people in. And I had been working with coaches, and I knew that they told me that that wasn't true. But I still was like, I just feel like, my community, if I just like, lower the price, I want to have a service for everyone, right? Like, I want to make sure that everyone can benefit. Y'all, when I tell you, that launch was the most challenging launch I have ever done. It was much harder to sell that low ticket offer than it's been to sell any of my high ticket offers. And it was just, it didn't work. Like, it wasn't like more people came in because the price was lower, right? Now, I always say failure is data. So I gathered that data. I am grateful for that launch and what it taught me, because I'm never going to do that again. So, like, that's the thing about coaching, is that, I can have all of these like failures, right? So that you don't have to, right? Like, I tell you what has worked, what hasn't worked, right? And then you guys can just do what works. Like, don't do what hasn't worked. Let's stick to what works, right? So let's get into, I always like to mention a scripture whenever I am doing a live stream, like try to tie in a relevant scripture to what we're talking about today. So Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's or a woman's, right, gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men or great women, right? And so your gifts, that way that God has placed in you to show up and serve your community, is going to be the thing that allows you to fully walk in your purpose and get before great men, right? And the Bible doesn't say your experience, like if you've done this before. It says your gift. A gift is something that is given to you for free. If you paid for it, It's not a gift, right? So your gift will make room for you, right? Now, we're going to caveat that a little bit in terms of like when I talk to you about how to do this, but I just want to say you intrinsically have gifts and have a way that you can show up and serve your community right now. It's based on your transformation. We talked about it last week. It's based on your purpose proposition, etc. Okay, but let me show you, right? Taking that gift and employing these 5 strategies are going to be the thing that allows you to right out the gate charge premium prices. All right, so let's get into it. So, number 1, I want you guys to determine how much money you want to make per month. How much do you want to make per month? Everyone in this community, most of us, we are professional women. We have a lot going on in our lives. We're either moms, wives, we are busy professionals in some other regard. Like we have a lot going on. If you're in this community, you likely have a lot going on in your life. You need to know what your goal is in terms of how much money you want to make per month. Now, this was really scary to me. I remember when my first coach asked me, how much money do you want to make per month? And I was like stuttering. I'm like, first of all, how are we talking about money? Like we're not supposed to be talking about money. Like what? And she was like, but it's really important for me and for you to understand how much money you want to make per month, because how do you know what to work toward? And I was like, but I thought I just kind of take whatever money I'm given. And she was like, who told you that? Like, that's not how this works, right? And so for many of us, right, like we put so much emotion into income, right? We put emotion into it. And I can see that, right? Because there's a part of it that is like you want to make sure you're making an impact, like all those things, right? But your income is not related to your worth. Your intrinsic worth has nothing to do with your income. We're all intrinsically worthy because we're children of God. It has nothing to do with your income. Okay? So your worth, like I want you to like divorce that in your mind. Like your worth is not related to your income at all. At all. You are worthy because he's worthy, right? You're worthy, like you're his. You're worthy, right? Intrinsically, period. It doesn't matter how much you bring in. Like we're all worthy. Okay, so then if you set an income goal, the reason I say that, I talk about worth, is that we're so scared to set income goals because we're scared that if we don't reach those goals, then that means that we're unworthy in some way, or like we're not measuring up in some way. And that's just not true. It's not true. If you don't hit an income goal that you've set for yourself, then you have now a whole lot of data about what to do differently going forward, right? So it's something that I talk about on the podcast all the time is like separating, right, our worth, our intrinsic worth from our achievements. Because when we don't do that, that's when we get stuck, and that's when we start procrastinating on everything, including setting income goals. So here's the thing. If your goal is to make $5,000 a month in your business, or $10,000 a month, or it's really unlimited, right? Like you can make as much money as you decide, right? As you want to, right? And so if we have an abundance mindset, then we know that, right? And now we can reverse engineer, right? So if you have a goal to make $5,000 a month, but you're selling ebooks for $5, then that's a whole lot of ebooks, right? That you have to sell 1,000 ebooks. And for many of us who are just starting, we don't have 1,000 people even in our community. And if you think about how many people in your community typically will like actually convert into being a buyer, it's just so like we don't have it, right? We don't have that. And so if you set an income goal, right, it's the easiest thing to help you to realize that I have to charge premium rates. I actually don't have a choice, because otherwise, if I'm brand new to this, I have to have an audience of thousands and thousands of people. And that's just not realistic for many of us, right? And so, like, let's take the emotion out of it, right? And realize that if we don't hit our income goals, we can collect that data and do something differently the next month. But we have to have a goal so we know how many people, right, we need to be having conversations with in order to get to that point. And so many of us, we refuse to set that goal because it's scary. And I get that. Like, you guys are coming from my Pop Squad Facebook group, right? So you guys, or you're a listener of the podcast, you know that I know how you think and how your cave woman is setting you up to feel like, ugh, right? Like, I don't want to do this because, like, if I fail, then what does that mean about me? It doesn't mean anything about you or about your worth. It just means maybe your positioning wasn't right. Maybe your messaging needs to be tweaked. Like, there's so many different things that can be changed and tweaked based on the data that you receive, right? And so if we kind of divorce our achievements of like, did we make this income goal from our, like, when I had that month where I did that launch and it like didn't go that great and I charged like almost nothing, I mean, you know, I was down a little bit for maybe like an hour. And then I was like, okay, well, what have I learned? I have learned that charging a low ticket price does not make more people buy. It just doesn't. You would think it would. It doesn't. And we'll talk about that more in just a second. So that's step number one, is to understand what your goal, like set a goal, and then understand how many people it is going to take to you, and you know, for you to reach that goal. And when you do that, you realize that you really do have to sell high ticket in order to, like, you have to do that in the beginning, or else you're not gonna make, you know, reach your income goals. And if you think to yourself, okay, I want to reach these income goals because I want to do, you know, maybe you want to leave your job, I don't know, like whatever whatever you decide, right? Like we want to make a profitable, like we want to make profit. We want to have a profitable business. And I talked about that yesterday as to why that's very important. So that's step number one, right? So after I say that, right, I'm like, okay, like you have to charge high ticket when you're just beginning in order to reach your income goals. I already know what your cave woman's telling you. She's telling you, but how can I do that if I'm brand new? How can I charge high ticket if I'm brand new? Like who is gonna pay me 4 figures for anything if I'm just starting? I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do that. Exactly how you can do that, okay? So here's the thing. When you start coaching, right? That does not mean, like, as a brand new coach, yes, you've never coached before, but does that mean that you've never, like, you're inexperienced? No, right? If you're basing what you're coaching off of your purpose proposition, which is what we talked about last week. So if you didn't see that live video, go back to that live video last week. If you're basing it on your purpose proposition, then that means that you have achieved transformation for yourself or someone else in the past. So yeah, you've never sat down and coached someone else how to do it, but you understand how to get someone from point A to point B. Like you've done it before for yourself or for someone else. And that's all you need, right? So that's the thing, right? Is to just like keep that in mind. And then And then the next thing you're saying is, yeah, but like, how do I convince other people that even though I'm new, I can do this and that I have done this before? We talked about this yesterday, right? You have to become a thought leader. You have to become a thought leader. You cannot try to charge high ticket if you are out here saying what everyone else is saying. You have to show up in a different way. Have your own unique messaging. What is your, like, for instance, I call myself a purpose coach. You know how many purpose coaches there are out there? Go on Instagram and type in purpose coach, okay? There's a lot. There's a lot. The reason I have been able to secure 4 figures, right? And you know, I not like just thousand, I'm talking like, you know, $5,000 and more, right? Working with clients is because every other purpose coach out here is talking about the same stuff. Everyone, right? Everyone is like, oh, affirmations, do affirmations. When I came out the gate on my podcast saying affirmations are trash, they don't work, don't do them, do this instead. And people were like, what did she just say? Did she just say affirmations don't work? Yes, girl. That's exactly what I said. They don't work, right? And I truly believe that. I'm not just making this up. Like, they don't work. Like, I tried, they don't work, right? And so I have become a thought leader in that. I've created rooms on Clubhouse where I'm like, affirmations don't work. And people come into my room just to be like, what are you talking about? Affirmations are trash. Who is that? Can you allow, I want to see who you are. Allow eCam to use your name so I can see who's there. Whoever it is, you know, they're trash, okay? So like, if you do that, and oh, welcome to the live. If you do that, then you're establishing yourself as a thought leader. You are now it's not like people are just like shopping amongst, like, okay, when you go down the bread aisle, everyone always talks about like, oh, you know, the market is not saturated. I believe that, right? The market, well, it's saturated, but you should still start your business. Like, I believe that, right? Because we're all different. We all have our unique story. I completely believe that. But if you look just like everyone else, right? Then what people are going to do is they're going to start shopping for the lowest cost, right? Like, because if everything is the same, if all the red dresses look the same, if all the bread looks the same, if they're all the same, then I'm going to try to get the cheapest. So if Joe Schmo's bread costs $2 and Susie's bread costs $1.35, I'm going for the $1.35. Like, why am I going to pay that extra money when they're the same? But if Susie is like, oh, my bread is gluten-free and low calorie and tastes amazing and will make you lose 20 pounds, sign me up for that bread. But if Susie says that and is charging me $4 and that's what I want, if that's what I am looking for, I'm buying Susie's bread. I don't care what Joe Schmo's doing. And that is how you get people to say yes to you, even when you're new. Because if you come out the gate and you're like, I have my own thoughts, my own beliefs, my own opinions, I'm not like anyone else, right? And you stand in that truth firmly, right? And you're like, you just have this like aura of like, this is just who I am, this is how I roll. People see that and they're like, huh, okay. So she's clearly been around she knows what she's talking about, because you have to like have in order to stand out as a thought leader, right? You have to have your own perspective on things. And when people see that you have your own perspective on things, then they see you as being experienced. And you are experienced, because I just told you that you've already achieved the transformation for yourself or someone else, right? So be a thought leader. Don't be scared to buck like tradition. Go against the grain. Like I've heard someone say, when they zig, you zag. Yes, do that, right? When they zag, you zig. Yes, right? Like, yes. Like when I talk about, I have a membership program where I help people, with productivity. And something I say all the time is productivity has nothing to do with time management. That's different from what like Michael Hyatt and all the time management gurus will tell you. I'm like, nope, it has nothing to do with time management, period. It has to do with your cave woman, your unconscious mind. And people are like, what? But I launched my membership and I have members in there because, right? Because I come out and I'm saying something completely different, right? So don't be scared to own your own truth and to go against the grain. Like, don't like make stuff up if you don't believe it, right? Like, stand in authenticity for who you are. But don't just regurgitate what everyone else is saying. Like, develop your own way of doing things. And then that is one of the ways, right? So we talked about number one, which was determining how much you want to make, right? And just like taking the emotion out of that and just making that be what it is, right? Number two, and we talked about this again yesterday, not following the crowd, right? And standing in your own truth and becoming a thought leader, right? Number three, we talked about this yesterday again, but I'm going to say it again because it's so important. Develop your own intellectual property. Have your own framework and your own way of doing things. When I came out and I said, okay, I have my procrastination to purpose framework. I have a framework. So I'm new, but I'm new coaching, but I am obviously experienced. So I am able to walk my students through a series of steps to go from procrastinators to people walking in their purpose. And so when you name your frame, right? Name your framework. When you do that, right? Because you have mapped out a proven process, then that is what positions you to be able to say, yes, I can do this for you too, because there's the process. But if you're just like, I'm a coach, let me help you, but you don't have like a proven process, then what you're going to do is you're going to end up having to customize your program for each and every client you get. That does not lead you to be able to scale and grow. Like, you're not going to be able to do that. So you want to have your own intellectual property. You want to have your own framework, okay? And here's the amazing part about having your own framework. I am in like the very, very beginning stages of writing a book, which I'm really excited about. But guess what? My book is basically already written for me. It's already written. I know the name. I know the outline because I have my intellectual property. That's going to become the book. My intellectual property, my framework, my process is going to be the basis for my book, my speaking engagements, for my coaching business, like everything, right? So I spent time documenting that process, but now that is gonna like, do you see like how I can leverage that across so many different platforms, right? Like when I get invited to be on podcasts or to speak on a stage somewhere, I don't have to spend a whole lot of time being like, where am I gonna, like, how do I differ from, like, how am I gonna do this? I go based on my framework, right? So either you want a piece of my framework, I'll give you a piece of that. We could talk about that, or I can like give you the overview of the whole thing, right? But it's all based on my framework. That is leverageable now. Like now I can take that and I can run with that. So it also allows, because I've talked to you guys know about how I feel about your unconscious mind, trying to protect you. It also allows your cave woman to sit down and have several seats, right? Like when you're like, okay, I have a whole framework, sis, right? It's like, you show up as like that chick because you have a framework. I have a framework. Okay, I have a process. Okay, cave woman. So it allows you, it positions you as the authority and you feel like the expert. And that is huge because we've talked about this, and let me know if y'all want me to do a whole live video on like sales, because sales is energy exchange, right? And we're going to talk about this in a second, but I can do a whole video on it if you guys want like a little bit more in depth. So let me know. But like, you are not going to show up energetically in a sales conversation if you're like, oh, I think I can help this person, but I'm not quite sure, right? You're the person you're on the call with can feel that, and they're not going to say yes, right? The reason that I can do a sales call and like that book a $5,000 client is because I know I can help that person, because I have documented my process, I've proven my process, and I know it works. So that is the power of a framework. And then, like I said, you leverage that. That's your book. That's your speaking engagements, etc., etc. Okay, so that's that one. That's number 3. I do have a call at 2, so I'm going to pop off at 2. So I'm going to try to get through all of these. Okay, are y'all with me? Y'all with me? Let me know. Talk to me. Y'all talk to me. Okay, so number 1, know what you want your monthly like revenue goals to be. Number 2, become a thought leader. Own your truth. Right? That is what sets you apart. Okay, I see the like. Yay, thank you. Number 3, develop your own intellectual property. You here? Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up. I can't see your name, but I'm glad you're here. I'll come back later. I'll come back and say hi. Okay, number 4. I have 2 more, so 4 and 5. The next way that you're able to charge a premium price as a brand new coach is when you can clearly articulate the value and the return on investment for your community, for your students. Clearly articulate the value and the return on investment. Now, this is hard, and this was hard for me as well. Like, you start off and you want to help everyone, right? And that's something that happens to a lot of new entrepreneurs. We're like, but I really want to help everyone. I think I can help everyone. And it's like, while you probably can help lots of people, you want to be able to have like a specific promise of your program, right? A specific promise. So when you work with me in Purposed to Profit Elite, right, I have a very specific promise. By the end of the program, you're going to have developed, packaged, positioned, and launched your high ticket group coaching program, right? And so that's clear. Like, you can, like, someone who's listening to that, they can like see it, and they're like, okay, I can see by the end what the deliverable is. Like, it feels more tangible, right? It feels like, okay, I can picture myself in that, right? And it's clear and it's succinct. Now, if you say something like, I will allow, like, you will be confident and secure, that's great, but it's maybe hard. It will be hard for potential students to see what that looks like. Like, what does that look like, right? Like, what does that really look like, right? And I fell into this trap in the beginning too, because I wanted to help everyone. Well, in the beginning, I niched down, but then I broadened, right? And then when I broadened was also when I lowered my price. And I've already told y'all how that went. It didn't go well, right? So you have to have, and again, if you've done some of this before, if you've thought about doing some of this before, grace, I give you grace. It happens to the best of us. My coach, who makes like multiple like 6 figures, has done this, right? Her coach has done, like, we've all been there before. But I want to tell you that as a brand new coach, you need to have a very specific promise and a very specific like value that you get. Like for instance, if I tell you that at the end of my program you're going to be able to develop, package, and position your and launch your program, right? A part of that is developing your intellectual property, right? We go through that in my program. That I just told you in step 3 and tip 3 that intellectual property is going to become the basis of like your whole business. It's going to be your book, your speaking engagements, your live streams. Like that's an asset that you're getting when you participate in my program. So I can clearly say like, yes, I'm charging you X amount for my program, but look at the return on investment. Not only are you going to have your own coaching program, which is what's going to make you money, but you have a leverageable asset that comes out of working with me, right? So I can charge a premium price for that because I can clearly articulate, like I just did to y'all. I just articulated to y'all my program promise and the value and return on investment. So when you can do that, that's when you can charge premium prices, right? And you can do that when you have your own like documented process. You know the point A and the point B, right? So like all the tips like build on each other, right? Like just like yesterday. So you have to be able to clearly articulate your value. So if you may have trouble at first, right, launching a high ticket program if your deliverables are things that are vague, like confidence or self, like anything like that. Like even for me, when I used to say, I help you like walk in your purpose, like what does that mean, right? Like that means different things to different people, right? But if I tell you develop, package, position, launch, high ticket program, you'll have your intellectual property. I even in my program teach you a sales script that I paid thousands of dollars to get this sales script, right? Because it works, right? Like it really works. And so like that's another asset that I can like show that this is the value of working with me. So when you can do that, then you can charge premium prices. So that was number 4. So we've gone through 4. I have one more for you guys. Y'all still there? So how much do you want to make? You have to set that goal. You have to decide that and take the emotion out of it, right? Like this is objective now. So I know how many people I need to speak to, how many things I need to sell, and it also helps me to realize that I have to sell high ticket as a brand new coach, or else I'm not gonna reach my income goals selling $5 ebooks. It's just not gonna work because I don't have the community yet, right? So then when you realize that, then it's like, okay, how do I do that? Like, how can I convince other people to give me their money, right? To give me a lot of money. Become a thought leader. That was step number 2, right? Become a thought leader. Own your own truth, right? Your own unique story, your own unique methodology. Like don't come out the gate saying what other people are saying because it's not going to work, right? And then you develop, based on that, you develop your own intellectual property. So document the process, right? Like you're a new coach, but you're not new to the transformation that you're providing, right? Because you've done it for yourself or others. If you've done it for yourself or for others, then you're good, right? And it's not sleazy. It is what it is. Like you know how to help someone get from point A to point B. So you document that. That's your intellectual property. That's leverageable into your book, your speaking engagements, like all the things that you're going to do in your business. Step 4, be able to clearly articulate your value, the value of your program and the return on investment, so that people can like have a picture. Okay, when I work with Dr. Kimmy, I get my intellectual property done. That's going to turn into a book. That's going to also turn into a coaching program. That's also going to turn into like, do you see, like, I may be charging you X amount, but you're going to like over the course of your business, recoup that like hundreds of times over. So then people are more apt to make that initial investment. And then the fifth thing, right, before I log off, right? The fifth thing. This is the most important. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Please stay out of people's pocketbooks. Stay out of people's pocketbooks. So many of us, we have this story in our head and it's based on scarcity, and I get it because I've been there, right? So like go back to like some of my podcast episodes when I talk about abundance, and like stay in that for a little bit, right? Because like it's based on scarcity. But we have this story in our head that nobody is gonna buy. Nobody would ever pay XYZ amount. Nobody would ever pay $2,000 for my program. Nobody would ever pay $10,000 for my program. Nobody would ever. And it's like, you don't know that, right? And it's kind of almost rude a little bit. Like, don't stay out of people's pocketbooks, right? But the reason you probably feel that way, is because if you have never invested high ticket in a program, then you are going to, in your mind, your unconscious mind, right? Remember, so think about what I say on the podcast, right? About your cave woman side-eyeing you. You sit down to do your work at your desk and she's like, but sis, you couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. So what do I tell y'all to do? I tell you to get out of bed in the morning, stop snoozing so that you can turn off the cave woman who's like in your ear, right? So again, it's the same thing. If you have never purchased a high ticket program yourself, then your unconscious mind, your cave woman side-eyeing you like, how are you going to sell this to someone else? And it shows up in your content, and it shows up in your sales calls, it shows up in how you price your program, and it shows up in all of that, right? Because you're not in alignment. And we talked about this yesterday, like of being in alignment. And so stay out of people's pocketbooks, because you don't know, right? If you are able to clearly articulate your value, you have your intellectual property, you're showing up as a thought leader, if you're doing all those things, then people will pay you. They will pay you. But if you are still struggling with that, it could be because you're out of alignment in terms of like you have never done what you're asking someone else to do. And y'all know I gotta always bring it back to the Bible, right? Because like you'll hear people say like, oh, well, you attract who you are. And like, it sounds all woo woo. It's not, it's real. Like the Bible says you reap what you sow. Every time I sow into my business, I reap immediately, like right away, every single time. One of my clients, she's in this group. She just invested in my program and was telling me how like the money came back to her like 2 days later. Like every single time I invest, I reap. You sow, you reap. It's a law. It's a spiritual law. And so you're just not gonna show up the same way as you will when you invest yourself. Okay, so those are our 5, right? Stay out of people's pocketbooks. That's the most important thing, right? Stay out of people's pocketbooks. You don't know what people are able to do. And we're making assumptions based on stories. And often those stories are based on the fact that we haven't done what we're asking other people to do. So maybe we need to start. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you guys. This is available to you. You can do this. As a brand new coach, you follow these 5 steps, you will be able to charge premium prices. You will. People do it all the time. We have to start somewhere. Like the first time you coach is the first time you coach. How do you become a coach? You have to coach. You have to start, right? So we all start somewhere, but you can start. I struggle with that. We'll be staying out of pocketbooks. Stay out of people's pocketbooks, sis. Like you don't know. And if you're not sure, if you're like still like, and I'm sorry, I can't see who you are, so I'll circle back. But if you're not sure, like check yourself a little bit and be like, I wonder why I'm thinking that way. Am I doing what I'm asking other people to do? If you're a coach and you don't have a coach, that's not in alignment. It's just not. So I have to hop off. But listen, if you want to learn how to develop, package, position, and launch your very own group coaching program. I invite you to apply for Purpose to Profit. So you can go to productivepurpose.com/apply. Productivepurpose.com/apply. You can read all about the program. You can set up a 20-minute next step call with me and fill out the application. There is an application. I don't accept everyone into the program. This program is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. And I'm not for everyone, I'm sure, right? So we got to make sure that we are aligned, but I would love to invite you to do that. The women in this community, this small community, I've been really selective about who I'm allowing in here. So I think most of you guys, like, we are aligned, but still, you still have to apply. Okay, so just go to productivepurpose.com/apply and book your 20-minute next step call with me. Read about the program. You'll get all the information there. We start on March 17th. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Like I said, this program is for women who are ready to take that next step. They're ready to invest in themselves, to learn a proven process, to be able to launch their own high ticket program. Okay, this is available to you. You can do this, and you should do this, and you're allowed to do this, and this is what God wants for you, and I want you to walk in your purpose, and I'm super excited for the women I will be working with. So productivepurpose.com/apply. I'm going to hop off and go on my next call, but I will see you guys later. I'll check back in the group later. All right, y'all? Later. If you have questions, leave them here. I'll come back. Bye, guys. Have a good one.